Welcome to Channel 37 News. My name is Niles Pondwater, and I've traveled back in time to 1872 to interview important Western artist George Catlin. Welcome, George. Thank you for speaking with me today.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
There are so many fascinating stories from your life that it's difficult to know where to begin. Perhaps we should just start at the beginning. Tell us a little about your childhood years in school.
Certainly. I was born in Pennsylvania in summer of 1796. I lived in a beautiful valley with my parents who had settled there shortly after the Revolutionary War. As a child, I especially enjoyed hunting, fishing, even painting, but I was expected, of course, to study.
Well, what drew you to art?
After spending some years studying and practicing law, I decided that my true love, it was the art I dabbled in as a child. So I sold most of my belongings, including my law books, and I used the money to buy art supplies. These I used in Philadelphia, where I began my career as an artist.
Why did you decide to paint American Indians, subjects so far away from your home?
As I was learning to be a painter in Philadelphia, I knew I wanted to find a subject to which I could dedicate my entire life. Then one day, a group of American Indians, they visited this city from the west. When I saw these noble men in all their colorful clothing, I knew that they and their homelands, they were what I wanted to paint. I was afraid that if I didn't, much of their history and much of their culture, it just might be lost.
How did you end up in North Dakota?
Well, my travels, they saw me travel mainly by water. The rivers then, they were like highways. They moved many goods and people from one place to another. By then, steamboat travel, it was the norm on the rivers.
Upon arriving in North Dakota, where did you live?
Unlike the American Indians on the plains, they lived mostly in earth lodges or teepees. I spent most of my nights in forts.
How did you spend your time when you weren't painting?
I was offered chances to attend and draw the games, dances, other ceremonial events. I even enjoyed active research opportunities like participating in hunting parties who went out in search of food.
Is there any experience from your time in North Dakota that still stands out to you that you feel you will never forget?
Yes, most definitely. I do recall this one evening where I was invited by the chief of the village, Forebears, to come dine in his lodge with him. There was pemmican and marrow and, a delicious rack of bison ribs, most delicious. He sat there preparing his pipe, just patiently waiting as I enjoyed these delicacies. When I had finished eating, it was now time to smoke this pipe. He took a full draw of the pipe and then he handed it to me. And we spent the time smoking the pipe and discussing. And he explained to me the hieroglyphs on the robe upon which I was sitting, and it detailed many important activities in his life, many historical events.
What did the American Indians think of your art? Were they fans?
Admittedly, at first, some was suspicious. They thought that somehow their life, their existence, or their essence, it was transferred into the painted image and they would lose it. Some proved this by arguing the portraits were alive, and they used evidence that the idea that the eyes of those painted, it seemed to follow the viewers around the room.
Did this opinion ever change?
It took me a while to convince them that my painting process would not harm them. Over time, many came to understand that sitting for me was harmless. Eventually, there was even competition among tribal members who wanted to be my subject. People were at times so grateful that I was paid for my skill with gifts.
What were some of the gifts you received?
Well, for example, the chief, he had given me this pipe, which was made from a special red pipestone. This is the pipe from which we had smoked on that evening I had spoken of earlier.
Sounds like you've had many interesting experiences in your travels. What would you most like people to understand about the subjects of your North Dakota paintings?
I would like people to understand that the cultures and the landscapes of the people I painted are beautiful and very worthy of respect.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Catlin. It's been an honor.
It was most wonderful having you visit, sir. Thank you.
I'm Niles Pondwater, and this is Channel 37 News. Good night.